Deep inside a dark cave, someone is mining relentlessly. A pickaxe strikes the rocky wall with a powerful thud. Then a mysterious blue liquid begins to drip from a crack in the stone. Our main character, K, is thrilled because he has finally found what he has been searching for. Carefully, he collects the blue ink dripping from the rock into a small vial. K quietly thanks his little companion Nero, who helped him on this journey. With this discovery, our hero now believes he can finally be accepted into the Pioneer Corps. From there, the young man begins walking out of the cave. Once outside, he pauses and gazes at a futuristic city, glowing brightly in the distance. At the same time, inside the city, a large crowd gathers to watch an event. Standing before them are the colorists, a group of heroes known for their vibrant hair and incredible power. The people admire them greatly, because they protect the city from massive monsters. Thanks to them, the shining metropolis remains safe, prosperous, and full of life. However, the scene soon shifts to a darker and poorer part of the city. In this place known as the Shadow District, the atmosphere feels completely different, and the people here look anxious and troubled. On a nearby wall, a poster for the C-rank Pioneer Corps exam is posted. Suddenly, K is violently thrown to the ground by a group of men. One of them coldly tells him that this place is not for someone like him. Confused, K quickly shows them the vial of ink he collected, and insists that it proves he qualifies to take the exam. But one of the men grows increasingly irritated by the boy's persistence, and finally reveals the real reason they refuse to accept him. K is colorless. The man explains that everyone in society is born with a predetermined role. As he speaks, his hand begins to glow with power, while he calls K a damned colorless. A sudden wave of energy strikes K and forces him back. The man declares that the role of a pioneer is reserved only for the chosen ones, and only those born with colors possess the strength required to become one. He adds that weaklings never survive in the dangerous Black Lands. That place is an endless world of darkness, filled with terrifying creatures, and pioneers constantly risk their lives there to gather resources for humanity. The man proudly boasts that they are the true heroes of the city. Therefore, someone like K could never hope to stand among them. According to him, a colorless should simply find another job and stop dreaming. With those harsh words, he tells K to get lost and never come back. K remains silent while his companion Nero looks worried beside him. However, K gently calms Nero and says it is fine, because this kind of thing happens all the time. Even so, K firmly declares that one day he will become the greatest colorist, because it is a promise he refuses to abandon. He then asks Nero to hide so that no one will see him. With that, the young man decides to search somewhere else for an opportunity. Meanwhile, one of the men who dismissed him quietly watches him walk away. The green-haired man seems to have developed a strange interest in K. K continues his search for a place willing to accept him, going from door to door across the district. However, every attempt ends the same way, and each time he simply crosses another name off his list. By the end of the day, K feels completely defeated after finding no success at all. With no other options left, he decides to visit a place called Mary's workshop. Arriving there, he opens the door and calls out to Marie, who is working with her back turned. The young woman turns around and greets him warmly. Calling out his name, Marie quickly notices the sadness on his face, and immediately asks if he was rejected again. She becomes annoyed on his behalf, saying those people clearly have no eye for the talent K possesses. Marie insists that K has already proven his abilities countless times in the Black Lands. However, K humbly replies that he only manages because of Nero's help. He then offers Marie the ink he collected earlier, and she happily agrees to buy it for a good price. She explains that ink has recently become extremely scarce, and because the number of pioneers has increased, the demand for ink has caused prices to skyrocket. Apparently, their entire way of life depends heavily on this valuable resource. Considering the situation, Marie asks if K has thought about the suggestion she mentioned before. K hesitates for a moment, but Marie quickly presses the topic. She places a sheet of paper on the table in front of him. It is a recruitment flyer for the S-ranked Dawn Pioneer Corps. K becomes thoughtful, because he has never attempted something as high as S rank before, and the fear of failure has always held him back. But Marie encourages him, saying that this organization evaluates people purely based on merit. Looking at him with hopeful eyes, she believes this could finally be the place where K's abilities are recognized. She reminds him that becoming a pioneer has been his dream, ever since he was a child. And no matter what happens, she promises she will always support him. With a small smile, Kay finally agrees, since he is not exactly in a position to be picky. He takes the Dawn Pioneer Core Flyer and prepares to leave. Kay thanks Marie for everything, and she wishes him the best of luck. Later, Kay walks alone through the dark streets of the district, while studying the flyer, and realizing the deadline is approaching quickly. However, Nero suddenly begins acting restless. Kay finds the behavior strange and asks what is wrong. Without warning, a man appears behind him holding a green staff. It is the same man from earlier. The green-haired figure stares at Kay with a wicked grin, as green energy gathers around his staff. Before Kay can react, the man launches a powerful energy attack straight toward him. Caught completely off guard, Kay has no chance to dodge the sudden strike. The blast hits him directly and sends him flying from the impact. The attackers slowly approach, while mocking the fact that he is still alive. As Kay struggles on the ground, the green-haired man coldly remarks that nobody would care if a colorless simply disappeared. With the last of his strength, Kay turns his head and looks at Nero, who is crying in fear for him. Kay quietly tells his little friend to run away from there. Soon the scene changes to an ink waste disposal facility, located on the outskirts of the district. Sometime later, Kay awakens there in terrible pain. Standing before him is the green-haired man wearing a terrifying smile. The villain holds Kay over the edge of a massive tank filled with a dark, black liquid. He casually explains that the liquid is a deadly residue, created from the mixture of every type of ink. Struggling to breathe, Kay asks the man who he is and what he wants. Instead of answering the question, the man simply stares at him, before revealing the real reason behind the attack. They had discovered a treasure in the Shadow District, and that treasure was Nero, an intelligent creature that willingly followed a human. It turns out, the attackers had already captured Nero and locked him inside a cage. Desperate, Kay screams his friend's name, while Nero cries helplessly from inside the cage. Kay desperately tries to attack the man in order to save Nero, but he is easily restrained. Their plan is simple. They intend to sell Nero on the black market and earn a massive fortune. According to the green-haired man, a treasure like Nero is far too valuable to belong to a colorless. Kay bitterly regrets letting his guard down in the Shadow District. He cannot accept the idea of losing Nero, the only family he has left, for such a meaningless reason. An overwhelming fury suddenly erupts within him, as Kay screams at them not to mess with him. At that moment, a strange dark energy begins to flow from his hand. The green-haired man freezes in shock. For the first time, fear appears on his face, because he has never felt a power like this before. Right after, the man's green energy begins getting sucked into Kay's body. Disgusted by the strange sensation, the man immediately lets him go, dropping him straight into the tank. And without hesitation, he turns away to continue with his plans for Nero, and head toward the black market, while Nero cries helplessly inside the cage. As it sinks deeper into the endless darkness, Kay can only think about saving his friend, but his body refuses to move, and slowly he begins sinking into the thick black liquid, lamenting such a pathetic end, while memories of happier moments flash through his mind. However, when he remembers his childhood, he suddenly realizes that he cannot give up yet, because he still has a very important promise that he must keep. Deep within a void, a mysterious voice asks the unconscious protagonist why he is doing nothing. Confused, the protagonist asks the voice to identify itself. Large text flashes before him, commanding him to accept it. A torrent of thoughts rains down, urging him to save Nero and accept his true color. The protagonist's face becomes obscured by shadow, as the voice demands he take back his power. A hand reaches out from a swirling vortex of black liquid. The protagonist stands motionless, as a tendril of darkness dissipates above him. He looks down at his hands, now writhed in black energy, confused that he was inside the ink. His memories are fragmented, but he pushes those thoughts aside to focus on what matters now. A silhouette of shadow with glowing white eyes. He questions what he has become. A soft whimpering sound cuts through the silence, catching the entity's attention. He looks up to see two blurry figures standing high above, holding a small cage inside. Nero cries out. The sight of his companion snaps the protagonist back to reality, and he affirms he must save Nero. He reaches a hand of darkness toward the men. Suddenly, a massive geyser of black energy erupts from the depths. The green-haired man and his assistant recoil in terror, screaming. They look down into the disposal pit and are shocked to see the deadly pool of ink has vanished, leaving only a lone dark figure standing at the bottom. The entity emanating an ominous aura begins to walk toward them. The green-haired man trembles in fear, his eyes wide with disbelief, as a gigantic claw of shadow descends upon them. He stammers, wondering if this terrifying being is a creature. The aftermath of the explosion leaves a scene of total devastation. In the Shadow District, a frantic older man screams at a police officer, insisting he saw a small hand suddenly spring out from nowhere, causing a massive eruption of dark energy that wrecked the entire area. As the dust settles, medics carry away the unconscious bodies of the green-haired attacker, and his assistant, a new group of arrivals, observes the victims. A man with red hair and a woman with blue hair look down at the injured men, noting that these B-rank pioneers have completely lost their color. The blue-haired woman is baffled, unable to understand what could drain a person's color, but her companion suggests they focus on their mission. The red-haired man states they came because of reports of a large creature appearing within the city. The police officer on site is stunned to realize he is speaking to a high-ranking colorist. He nervously asks why such elite individuals are in the Shadow District, and the blue-haired woman politely explains they are there to investigate. The red-haired man asks to be shown the impact site, and the intimidated officer leads the way. The two investigators stand before the massive crater. The red-haired man inspects the debris and notices dark stains, while his partner confirms there are traces of a creature. She points out it is highly irregular for one to appear suddenly inside the city, especially in the outskirts, explaining that usually only small animals are found within the city walls. Looking into the deep pit, the red-haired man wonders if they are dealing with a new monster variant. He looks bored but serious, realizing that tracking this unique entity will be troublesome, since it doesn't fit the usual patterns. The scene shifts to a desolate landscape, where rubble is piled high in the darkness. A cat cries out. K, lying in the shadows, groans in pain. He feels a rough tongue and wakes up to find Nero licking his hair. Overcome with relief, K immediately pulls Nero into a tight hug, overjoyed that the cat is safe. However, the physical pain hits him, and he winces. K sits up confused and tries to piece together what happened. He remembers the bastards who attacked him and threw him into the VAT, recalling falling into the toxic black liquid and sinking. His eyes widen in shock as he processes his survival. He holds up his hands in disbelief, wondering if the impossible has happened. He touches his head and feels something different. His hair, once white, is now jet black. K grips his new black hair, staring forward with utter confusion, unable to understand how he is still alive, or why his appearance has drastically changed. Standing in the pitch-black darkness, K looks around, wondering why he cannot see anything. He calls out desperately to his companion, asking Nero to help in response. The black cat leaps into the air and spins rapidly, emitting a blinding white glow that illuminates the area. From the shadows, dozens of sinister glowing eyes stare hungrily at their prey, and trembling with fear, K looks around in terror while wondering where he has ended up. But as he studies the surroundings, he suddenly recognizes the landscape and realizes with shock that he has fallen into the dreaded Black Lands. Understanding his mistake, he realizes he has crossed beyond the limits of the safe forest, and suddenly a swarm of monsters begins rushing toward the intruder. Running for his life, K calls for Nero so they can escape quickly, and following the command, a small glowing companion keeps pace beside him. As they flee through the darkness, barely dodging in time, K narrowly escapes a deadly strike from the shadows, and thankful for the save, he praises Nero's incredible speed. Meowing loudly, Nero senses something strange changing in the environment, and suddenly, a pillar of light tears through the darkness and illuminates the cave. A cold chill runs down K's spine as he feels that mysterious energy surrounding him, and moments later, he notices his body growing lighter, while a strange force begins flowing through him. Running non-stop, the boy quickly realizes that all his fatigue has completely vanished, and leaping across the rocks, he moves with a speed he has never experienced before. Overflowing with energy, our hero feels explosive strength awakening inside him, while Nero streaks through the air like a small bolt of lightning. Keeping pace beside him, suddenly, a massive monster bursts out from the shadows, and attacks Kei from behind. And losing his balance, he realizes too late that he cannot dodge the incoming strike. Closing his eyes, the boy simply waits for the fatal blow. But something impossible happens. Biting down violently, the creature sinks its teeth into Kei's arm. But the moment its teeth make contact, they instantly shatter. The monster's eyes widen in shock. After biting something unbelievably hard and screaming in pain, the beast retreats in confusion, while Kei remains standing completely motionless. Looking down at his arm, Kei is stunned to see that it is completely intact, and after surviving the attack, he can hardly believe he escaped certain death. Staring at his hands, Kei slowly realizes that this must be the power of colors. And suddenly the ground begins to tremble. Heavy footsteps echo through the cave, announcing the arrival of something enormous. And emerging from the darkness, a gigantic cyclops reveals itself before them. Recognizing the terrifying beast, Kei immediately understands that he is facing a deadly predator. And confused by the situation, he wonders why a monster like this would appear here. With a violent roar, the creature tears through the ground, while attacking wildly in an attempt to crush them. And meowing in fear, Nero warns his owner about the approaching danger. Dodging the powerful attacks, Kei quickly realizes that this battle will not be easy. Yet, suddenly a confident smirk appears on his face. For the first time, he feels true confidence rising within him. Feeling the overwhelming power surging through his body, he becomes certain that victory is possible. And remembering everything he has suffered, he realizes that he finally possesses the strength he has always wanted. Clenching his fist tightly, Kei makes a decision that he will stop running forever. Drawing upon the anger and humiliation from earlier, he awakens the energy within his body and concentrating the flow. He feels the dark power growing stronger and stronger, until suddenly it explodes. A powerful black aura erupts around him, as Kei transforms and prepares for battle. Facing the monster directly, our hero refuses to step back even a single step. With all his strength, Kei launches himself forward like a rocket toward the monster, and delivers a devastating punch. The impact completely obliterates the creature. The ground cracks violently, as a massive cloud of dust erupts into the air, while fragments of the monster scatter across the cave. Staring at the destruction, Kei feels the incredible power vibrating through his veins. Suddenly his vision begins glowing brightly, and everything around him is swallowed by an intense blinding light. When the scenery changes, Kei suddenly finds himself standing inside a beautiful, colorful forest, and amazed by the breathtaking view. He becomes enchanted by that vibrant, living world. Then suddenly, he returns to reality. The black ink covering his body slowly begins melting away and breaking into a cold sweat. Kei has no idea what just happened. Suddenly intense pain surges through his body, and he screams as all his strength disappears. Falling to his knees, the young man can barely remain standing. Meowing with worry, Nero rushes toward his exhausted owner. Watching the dark aura fade away, Kei finally realizes the truth. His ink is running out. Understanding the danger, he discovers that this newfound power has limits. Hearing distant voices, Kei begins to feel dizzy from exhaustion, and slowly, he starts losing consciousness. Reaching out with a trembling hand, he searches the ground for support, digging his fingers into the dirt, while desperately trying to catch his breath. Gradually, the remaining black energy fades away from his body. Nearby, little Nero glows softly within the darkness of the cave, while carefully watching over him as the dust from the battle slowly settles. The entire area becomes quiet once more. With a weak smile, Kei admits that it was a very close call, and taking a deep breath, he tries to calm himself. After nearly losing his life later, he returns to the city and arrives in front of Mary's workshop. Inside, Marie is drawing absent-mindedly when she suddenly hears the door open. A hooded figure quietly appears at the entrance. Cheerfully, Marie asks what brings him there, but something immediately feels wrong. Looking closer, she notices the visitor is not speaking at all, standing completely still. The mysterious figure remains silent. As the slow, heavy footsteps echo through the workshop, Marie grows nervous and asks fearfully who is there. She does not recognize the hooded figure approaching silently. The stranger slowly corners the girl. Suddenly the figure lets out a loud yell. The intruder gives the poor girl the scare of her life. Laughing at her shocked expression, Kei pulls back his hood and reveals his identity. Trying to calm her down, he tells her it is just her same old friend holding a massive wrench. Marie stands there in complete shock, after realizing Kei actually came back alive. Stuttering nervously, she can barely process the situation. suddenly yelling furiously. The girl demands to know where on earth he has been all this time. Threatening to attack, she raises the wrench and prepares to strike. Cursing the boy out, Marie releases all the stress and worry she had been feeling. Backing away with both hands raised, Kay desperately tries to avoid the well-deserved beating. Slamming the wrench down onto the table, Marie orders him to explain everything, immediately admitting her relief. She says she is honestly glad he did not get himself killed out there. Changing the subject, our hero quickly asks if the applications are still open, asking to borrow some clothes. Kay promises that he will pay her back one day. Sighing tiredly, Marie asks how many times something like this has already happened. But then her mood suddenly softens, and she smiles while saying she considers it an investment in him. Grabbing his hand, the girl pulls her friend along and tells him to follow her. Handing him a package, she proudly says she has exactly what he needs. Arriving at the arena, the place is already packed for the admission exam. Looking at the massive crowd, it is obvious the competition will be extremely fierce. Chatting nervously, several candidates comment on how anxious they feel. Joining the Dawn Squad is the dream of every serious pioneer. Being the strongest group, everyone desperately wants a spot on this team. Conquering the Black Lands again and again, they have gathered several elite colorists under their banner, attracting powerful individuals. The test today is filled with many famous names. Pointing out the standouts, the crowd quickly recognizes certain hairstyles and well-known hunters. However, one particular candidate steals everyone's attention. Whispering among themselves, the crowd keeps glancing at a man named Gale, known as the Storm Sword, famous for hunting monsters. Alone, people say he possesses the strength of an entire army. Because of his many achievements, he arrives as the clear favorite of the exam. Seeing his reputation, many believe his victory is already guaranteed, and that it would be impossible for him to fail. Ignoring all the attention, Gale appears completely bored by the cheering fans. Looking around, he only sees what he believes to be a crowd of useless losers. Dismissing everyone around him, he feels vastly superior to the other candidates. But suddenly his gaze stops when he notices someone interesting. Walking gracefully, a girl with long blue hair stands out among the crowd. Known as the Ice Princess, she radiates a powerful and intimidating aura. Grinning slightly, Gale admits that she does not look half bad. Growing curious, he decides he wants to see what she is capable of. Once the battles begin, suddenly, a robotic voice stutters through the microphone, asking everyone for their attention. Announcing the admission exam is finally about to begin. Following the order, the examiners open the massive gates of the arena. Appearing imposingly, the lead examiner steps forward and instantly silences the entire crowd. Being a living legend, people say his strength alone rivals entire armies. Staring down at the rookies, he releases an overwhelming, suffocating pressure, welcoming them calmly. The captain thanks everyone for attending the test today. Beginning his speech, he reminds them that this examination is no joke. Understanding the dreams that brought them here, he warns that ambition alone will never be enough to survive. Speaking realistically, he explains that half-hearted determination will never last in the brutal Blacklands. Explaining the rules, he declares that their true worth will be measured in blood. Recalling the harsh law of the jungle, the captain states that the weak simply become food for monsters. Challenging them all, he asks, who among them will become the predator, and who will end up as the prey? Calling the first names, the loudspeaker summons the opening pair of fighters. Stepping into the arena, Gale walks forward confidently, already feeling like the winner. Feeling sorry for his opponent, the audience whispers that the poor guy does not stand a chance. And smiling cruelly, the swordsman quickly recognizes the victim he is about to humiliate. Already imagining the fun he plans to have, Gale thinks about how he will toy with the weakling. Before finishing him studying the opponent's posture, he decides the man looks far too weak to be interesting. Standing there silently, the hooded figure appears completely harmless and does not react at all. Unsheathing his weapon, the swordsman decides to end this boring fight quickly. Walking forward calmly, he raises his sword and prepares for the slaughter. Unleashing his powerful aura, Gale decides not to hold back even a little. Recognizing the technique, the crowd begins shouting the name of the famous storm sword, generating sharp blades of wind. Gale proudly displays his high-level control over his ability. Challenging his opponent, he mocks him and tells him to try blocking the attack if he can. Charging forward with everything he has, the The green-haired swordsman launches his offensive and promises to slice the weakling apart, unleashing a brutal slash of compressed wind energy. He aims directly at the silent figure. Without moving, the hooded fighter simply watches the attack approaching. At the very last moment, he dodges by a hair's breadth, and the wind blade misses its target completely. In the next, the brutal punch lands squarely on Gale's face. The impact explodes like thunder and sends the swordsman flying backward instantly. Dust erupts across the arena as Gale is thrown across the battlefield. Eyes widening in shock, the entire audience suddenly falls silent after witnessing the unbelievable scene. Crashing violently into the arena wall, Gale collapses defeated among the rubble. Losing consciousness, the overwhelming favorite is eliminated before the match even truly begins. Looking down at his own fist, Kei feels surprised by the absurd strength he just displayed. Removing his hood, he finds the heavy silence that has fallen over the arena. Extremely strange, murmuring nervously, the candidates begin pointing toward his color. Recognizing the shade, the captain calmly announces that black is known as the color of calamity. Feeling chills run down her spine, the blue-haired girl quietly notes that someone with that color cannot possibly be human, judging by the power he just displayed with his rare color. Kei has instantly captured everyone's attention. Growing confused by the reaction, our hero simply scratches his head and awkwardly asks if he did something wrong. Breaking the tension, the remaining competitors rush forward, all at once launching rocks and spells, as a mage attempts to catch the protagonist off guard. But Kei dodges effortlessly, moving past the attack as if it were nothing, spinning midair, before counterattacking with a swift and precise strike, slamming his opponent into the ground and knocking out yet another nuisance. Landing smoothly, he moves again without hesitation, taking down another rival with ease. His movements sharp and controlled, as if the battle barely requires effort. Watching from above, the captain notes that the boy is a rare talent, is already planning ahead as he considers securing the recruit before word spreads and others take interest. At that moment, an important figure arrives in the VIP area, and recognizing his superior, the captain immediately straightens and salutes Chief Red with respect. Arriving with an imposing presence, Red and his assistant observe the arena closely, the redhead casually asking how this year's rookies compare, while suddenly hiding his growing interest, wondering if anyone is actually worth his time. Complaining about his previous assignment, he remarks that the last mission was a complete waste. But suddenly an explosion within the arena draws both their attention. Pointing out the standout fighters, the captain highlights the ice girl along with a surprising newcomer. And the moment Red notices the color, his expression shifts in shock as he sees black on the boy. Explaining further, the captain mentions how the boy humiliated the favorite in an instant, causing the assistant to question in disbelief whether this is really the same kid from before. Suspicion grows within Red, as he finds it strange that the boy now possesses such power. Meanwhile, Kei feels exhilarated as his strength grows, believing his dream of becoming a pioneer is finally within reach, though he remains cautious, knowing he must conceal the limits of his ink. On the opposite side of the arena, an icy explosion erupts as a freezing wave sweeps across the battlefield. The blue-haired girl, moving coldly as she defeats multiple opponents at once, standing victorious as she establishes herself as the strongest contender. And watching her quietly, Kei admits that her aura is as beautiful as it is dangerous, secretly hoping he will not have to face her soon. The two finalists cross paths at the center of the arena, silence filling the space as she studies him with a sharp and piercing gaze. And feeling the pressure, Kei tenses at the overwhelming presence before him. Yet without a word, the girl simply walks past him, completely ignoring him as if he were insignificant. With that, the phase comes to an end, as the captain announces that the warm-up is finally over, explaining that with only a few remaining, the real test begins now. The losers are dismissed immediately, as the examiner orders them to leave, warning that the next stage will be the true challenge. Watching with a sinister smile, Red decides he will have some fun in the second test, while Kei looks on curiously, unable to recognize the red-haired man. Suddenly everyone reacts in shock as they shout the name Colonel Red, his presence alone commanding fear and respect. Descending from the stands, the redhead walks toward the center, engulfed in flames, his overwhelming power visible even from afar. His reputation as one of the strongest pioneers undeniable. Taking control of the situation, he announces that the test has changed, explaining simply that whoever remains standing will pass. With a dangerous smile, he unleashes an unbearable wave of heat, the air itself burning, as immense pressure crashes down on the candidates, forcing many to their knees. Panic spreads as several begin to feel sick under the crushing aura, while Red calmly explains that the black lands are filled with constant danger, just like this, increasing the pressure as he observes who truly has the will to endure the strongest struggle, to remain conscious as they resist the overwhelming heat, while Red scans the crowd, searching specifically for the boy with the black color. Noticing a faint glow, he recognizes the technique of the Cyan family, as the blue-haired girl freezes the ground beneath her, creating a barrier of ice to counter the flames. Impressed, Red admits she has overcome the disadvantage, proving why she is considered a genius. Shifting his focus once more, he locks onto Kay, deciding to test the limits of this mysterious rookie. Directing his pressure toward him, he watches closely as Kay begins to falter, his body trembling under the immense force as he nears collapse. Disappointed, Red thinks he may have expected too much, while Kay struggles desperately as his body reaches its limit. Recalling his previous fight, Kay realizes he has nearly exhausted all of his ink, leaving him with no energy to defend himself. Fear creeping in as he risks exposing the truth that he is colorless. Barely holding on, he feels his strength fading, until suddenly an idea sparks in his mind. Realizing that the Colonel's energy itself could be the answer, he decides to take a risk, extending his hand toward the blazing aura. Despite his doubts, the moment he makes contact, he activates the hidden power of the black color, a violent pull forming, as a vortex begins draining the surrounding pressure, shocking everyone nearby. The air distorts, as the technique creates a vacuum in the center of the arena, diverting the flames as Kay feels his strength return in a surge, the energy spiraling into a raging tornado around him. The overwhelming display leaves the crowd stunned, as the captain watches in disbelief, unable to comprehend what he is seeing. Understanding exactly what is happening, Red smiles with satisfaction, impressed by the boy's boldness. But even as power floods into him, Kay struggles to contain it, his body pushed to the brink as if he might explode from the overload. Standing alone in the arena, he now looks less like a human and more like a monster. And in that moment, he realizes he may have drawn far more attention than he ever intended. Intrigued, the Ice Princess refuses to take her eyes off him, her gaze locked as doubt spreads through the crowd, many questioning if that black color could even be real. Feeling a sense of threat, she narrows her eyes at Kay, concern flickering beneath her cold expression. Memories of her family's expectations surfacing, as she recalls the pressure to always stand at the top. She refuses to accept humiliation, refuses to fall behind anyone, yet deep down she acknowledges the truth. Against that monster she would not win. Sensing something unnatural, she realizes his aura is unlike anything she has ever seen, a living mystery that defies logic. But instead of overthinking, she discards the questions entirely, deciding that his identity does not matter. With quiet resolve, she promises a rematch, confident that next time the outcome will be different. Watching closely, Red smirks as he notices the black power devour his flames, curiosity burning within him, as he decides this rare rookie is worth observing. Meanwhile, Kay stands stunned upon hearing the result, barely able to process that he has been approved, excitement surging within him, as he realizes he has finally reached his dream of becoming a pioneer. Without a word, Red slips away, leaving the overwhelmed captain behind, while the examiner quickly restores order and announces that the selection will continue, making it clear he spares only one standout. He declares that number 99 alone has passed directly. As the others disperse, the blue-haired girl watches silently, a strange unease settling within her, as she observes Kay leaving alongside Red. Soon they arrive at their destination, as a luxury car stops within a ruined area, the atmosphere heavy with destruction. Stepping out, Red casually tells the driver to wait, while Kay trembles as he recognizes the place, his memories dragging him back to the pit, where he once fell into chemical waste. Surveying the surroundings, Red mentions a recent incident tied to this location, sharing rumors that 2 pioneers were discovered here, stripped of their colors. Continuing calmly, he adds that witnesses reported a massive beast appearing in the area, before pointing out that Kay showed up immediately after. connecting everything. He quickly deduces the existence of a strange power, capable of absorbing colors, his eyes fixing on the boy, as he states that this ability is something entirely new. Panic grips K, as he realizes the chief has already uncovered the truth. Thoughts of escape flashing through his mind, only to be crushed by the reality that he would be eliminated. Instantly laughing at his reaction, Red casually admits he was only testing his nerves, explaining that his role involves investigating abnormal incidents. Bringing up the concept of black, he reveals that such a color does not exist within the normal system, making K an anomaly that breaks every rule. Noting the instability, he points out that K cannot yet control this power, striking directly at the boy's weakness. Deciding to demonstrate, Red looks around before extending his hand, inviting K to undergo a real test, offering his own energy, and instructing him to try absorbing just a small amount. Warning the driver not to panic, he prepares for what is about to happen, while K steels himself and accepts, realizing he can no longer hold back. As Red's tone darkens, he begins speaking of inhumans, beings that look human but are actually monsters, threats that endanger the entire city. Locking eyes with K, he delivers a chilling warning that if the boy turns out to be one of them, he will kill him on the spot. Without hesitation accepting the risk, K grabs his arm, nervously joking about dying if things go wrong. The moment their connection forms, a dense energy begins to swirl violently between them, red power flooding into K's body. As his eyes widen in shock, an unbearable heat consumes him from within, burning through his entire being. As he screams in agony, unable to withstand the overwhelming force, losing control, he begs for it to stop, as the energy feels like it is tearing him apart. While Red quickly notices that the flow is not stabilizing, realizing the danger, K understands that a true hero's power is practically limitless. Yet Red remains calm, allowing the boy to absorb more, curious to see how far he can go. The risk becomes clear, as the hunger of that black power proves far too dangerous. Yet Red continues observing, intrigued by the unknown limits. Suddenly, K's arm reaches a critical point and erupts in blinding light, releasing a devastating blast that tears through the ground and carves a massive trench. Watching the destruction, Red is visibly impressed, while K's arm becomes engulfed in violent black flames. Questioning him directly, Red asks if he still has control. As K struggles internally, his mind invaded by chaotic voices, the energy burns his flesh, while attempting to dominate his body entirely, pushing him toward pure destruction. As whispers tempt him to release everything, fighting back with sheer will, he rejects those impulses, screaming internally as he forces the invading presence to be silent. With immense effort, he disperses the excess energy, regaining control just before losing himself completely. Observing this, Red acknowledges that the boy managed to stabilize in time. Exhausted and gasping, K feels as though he narrowly escaped becoming a monster. Slowly calming himself as the immediate danger fades, approaching him, Red checks his condition, asking if his mind remains intact, before confirming that the test has concluded. Calling him by his number, he breaks the silence, offering a rare smile as he praises the boy's extraordinary resilience. Agreeing with K's resolve, he admits that sometimes everything must be risked, stating that he has seen enough. Shifting the conversation, he reminds him of his position as chief investigator, pointing out that K is the sole survivor of the incident site. He explains that many powerful figures are already watching this case, warning that the city would hunt him down like a lab specimen. Realizing his situation, K understands he has no escape, fear gripping him as he imagines being captured and dissected alive. Seeing this, Red offers a way out, proposing that K join his team. Without hesitation, K drops to his knees, accepting immediately and begging for protection. Setting the terms, Red warns that he will call in favors when needed. Desperate to survive, K pledges absolute loyalty, agreeing to do anything to escape his fate. A faint grin forms on Red's face, as he admits he likes hearing that he can ask for anything he wants. Traveling far, the truck pushes through the endless desert of the Black Lands, the barren landscape stretching in every direction. As K stares out in disbelief, barely processing that his journey as a pioneer has truly begun. Breaking the moment, Gale complains about the noise, and tells the rookie to sit down and stay quiet, his impatience clear as ever, vibrating with excitement. The swordsman declares he was born for this kind of mission, accepting that they are now on the same team, whether he likes it or not. Beside them, The Ice Princess gazes out the window in silence, her thoughts distant and unreadable. Still trying to process everything, Kate questions why he was invited to such a dangerous, unexplored area, only for Red to confirm that he personally reserved a spot, just for him, laughing at the boy's reaction. The chief tells him to relax before pulling out a map, explaining that the rookies will be entering in a large group, and that official details will be announced soon. Setting expectations, he reminds Kay to arrive on time at the meeting point, reinforcing the order with a firm tone later. Upon entering the cabin, Kay finds his new teammates already gathered, the atmosphere thick with tension, as memories of the chaotic exams still linger. Due to Red's interference, more strong candidates were approved, changing the outcome entirely. Determined to be part of the action, Ellie personally requested to join Red's squad. Meanwhile, Gale mutters in frustration, unable to accept his humiliation in the arena, making excuses as he claims he only lost because he lowered his guard. Promising revenge, he swears he will defeat Kay next time, his pride still wounded. Trying to comfort him, the girl with glasses insists he would have won under normal circumstances, but the Ice Princess immediately shuts that down, stating coldly that he would lose again. Crushing his ego further, she declares that Gale is nowhere near Kay's level. Shifting the focus, Ellie boldly claims she will be the first to challenge him instead, her competitive spirit burning. Finding the exchange oddly entertaining, Kay begins to think he might actually get along with her, only for Ellie to snap at him, as if the fight had already been arranged, telling him to keep quiet. With the princess mercilessly tearing into Gale, the mood turns heavy and the three fall into an awkward silence. Watching it all unfold, Kay quietly wonders if this team will even function properly. Soon, their journey continues as their transport moves deeper into darkness, heading toward the unknown. Arriving at the base, the group disembarks at the Cyan outpost. The scale of resources immediately standing out is something only an S rank could command. Lost in thought, Kay is suddenly snapped back by a gentle touch, turning to see Marie smiling warmly. As she asks where his mind wandered off to, supporting him, she explains that she came personally to witness his debut, wanting to be there for his first mission. Suddenly Nero pops out to greet him, the small companion bringing a sense of relief. As Kay thanks them both for staying safe, excited for the opportunity, Marie declares she will prove her value during the mission, her determination shining through. A loud siren interrupts the moment, as commands call everyone into final formation, signaling that their entry into the Blacklands is about to begin. Trusting her, Kay leaves Nero in Marie's care, while she reminds him not to do anything reckless, gently reassuring the little creature that his owner will return soon. Without warning, Nero dissolves into smoke within her hands, vanishing instantly, and leaving Marie in shock as she frantically searches for him. Unknown to her, the small companion slips through the shadows and reappears beside Kay, leaving her completely baffled by what just happened. As they advance, the pioneers stand in awe of a massive structure ahead, its sheer scale overwhelming, as Kay realizes just how enormous it truly is. Preparing for deployment, the Orange team announces they will be entering the rift, their leader emphasizing that safety remains the top priority. She reminds them that the area is filled with deadly monsters, and the destruction around them makes it clear that this is no exaggeration. Suddenly, the briefing is interrupted as a subordinate urgently calls for Red, reporting strange signals detected within the zone. It becomes clear that someone has entered the restricted area without permission, surprising Red as he questions who would be reckless enough to do so, given that the region is under S-rank authority. The danger is extreme and the messenger urgently pleads for help to rescue the rookies in time. Somewhere in the darkness, a mysterious figure struggles forward, a trembling hand dragging itself across the rocks. Arriving at the scene, Red and his team immediately sense the heavy atmosphere, the tension in the air thick and suffocating. Uncertain, Kay asks if it is truly safe to proceed, but Red reassures them with confidence, promising that no one under his command will die. With a confident grin, he reminds them they are led by the best, before cutting off any further talk and ordering the team to move out. Entering the cave, they are instantly greeted by a swarm of monsters, one beast lunging forward with a ferocious roar, in an attempt to devour them. Reacting instantly, Ellie slices through the creature, forming blades of ice with deadly precision, landing gracefully, as she feels the true weight of the Blacklands for the first time. Surrounded by countless watching eyes, she realizes that no amount of training could prepare her for this reality. Checking her weapon, she understands the need to conserve energy, deciding to fight strategically rather than recklessly. Glancing at Kei, she silently vows not to fall behind him. Breaking the silence, she questions his unusual fighting style, asking why he does not use a dropper. Caught off guard, Kei stumbles over his words before awkwardly admitting the truth, that he simply cannot afford one. Complaining about the cost, he explains that such weapons are meant for the wealthy, leaving Ellie and Gale completely stunned. Shocked beyond belief, Gale demands to know if he is serious, explaining that droppers are essential tools for using colors effectively. By injecting ink, they amplify power and make fighting monsters far easier. Recalling the arena, Gale suddenly realizes Kei fought entirely barehanded, and frustration builds as he groans in anger, feeling even more humiliated, knowing he lost to someone without any equipment. Reflecting on the fight, he recognizes the overwhelming gap between them, cursing his own weakness as he swears to take revenge one day. Watching the rivalry unfold, Red finds the situation amusing, enjoying the clash between rising talents. Smiling with satisfaction, he remarks that this mission is shaping up to be quite entertaining. Encouraging the team, he tells them they are close to their objective, promising that once the job is done, they will celebrate properly. Warning of danger, Ellie tells them not to let their guard down yet, her voice steady as she scans the surroundings. Drinking from a vial, Gale restores the energy he spent during the fight, the liquid glowing faintly as it takes effect. Recognizing the item, Kei notes that it is custom ink, something incredibly expensive, and tailored specifically to one's color. These tonics, refined through alchemy, greatly enhance power, making them a luxury only the wealthy can afford. Watching them drink it so casually, Kei feels a sting of envy, nearly tearing up at the sight. Yet he quickly hides it and pretends he has no need for such things. Instead, crouching down, he chooses a different method, deciding to absorb energy directly from the environment. Drawing in the surrounding darkness, he begins pulling the black color into himself. The sudden surge startles Ellie and Gale, as a dark aura forms around him, the energy gathering rapidly, absorbing everything effortlessly. Kei refills his reserves without spending anything. Standing back up refreshed, he declares he is ready for the next fight. Concerned, Ellie asks if he feels any side effects, but Kei reassures her calmly, saying he has done this many times before. Thinking it completely insane, Gale can only conclude that the guy is out of his mind. Cutting their conversation short, Red announces that they have reached their destination. Facing a massive black barrier, Kei immediately senses something strange about it, a familiar energy lingering within. Asking what it is, he feels an uneasy connection. Explaining the situation, Red reveals that this is exactly why he brought Kei here. To demonstrate, he forms a blazing fireball and launches it forward, the attack striking the barrier with tremendous force. The ground trembles from the impact, yet the wall absorbs everything completely without a single mark. Clarifying the mechanics, Red warns that brute force only feeds it, making it even stronger. Connecting the idea, he explains that it functions similarly to Kei's own power. Confident in his theory, he bets that the rookie can break through it. Pointing toward the ruins, he reveals their objective is to recover the Stella fragments. Confused, Ellie and Gale admit they have never heard of such a thing, while Kei remains silent, hiding what he knows, leaving explanations for later. Red states that the Shining City requires these fragments. Then, without hesitation, he orders Kei to deal with the barrier. Placing his hand against the surface, Kei feels the energy pulsing beneath his fingers. Pulling with full force, he begins absorbing the structure, forming a massive whirlpool of black energy. The barrier trembles as it is slowly consumed, a giant wall collapsing into nothingness as Kei devours it entirely. Watching closely, Red confirms his expectations were correct. Impressed by the rookie's ability, as the obstruction disappears, the path to the ruins is finally revealed. Already thinking ahead, Red imagines how valuable this power could become in the future. Meanwhile, Gale covers his ears, complaining about the overwhelming vibrations, warning that the noise will attract trouble. Almost immediately, his fears are confirmed as distant roars echo from every direction. From the darkness, beasts begin to emerge, their fangs bared as shadowy figures rise from the ground. Within moments, an entire army surrounds them, Remaining calm, Ellie remarks that their welcome is rather intense. Taking command, Red orders them to hold formation and eliminate every enemy in sight. Without hesitation, Gale charges forward, cutting through the first wave, his blade slicing through the air beside him. Ellie freezes the battlefield, creating a path of ice as she moves effortlessly through the monsters. Observing quietly, Red chooses not to interfere. Realizing the rookies are more than capable, satisfied, he acknowledges their strength and potential, a grin forming as he watches them fight. Maintaining control, Red keeps flames ready at his fingertips, prepared to act if needed. While absorbing the last remnants of energy, Kay senses something unusual. The flow feels off, as if another force is interfering. A strange pull begins to affect him, making it feel like his own color is being drained. Resisting the pressure, he realizes his strength has grown enough to withstand it. Finishing the process, he exhales in relief as the barrier fully disappears. With the path now open, the team stands before the true entrance to the ruins, a massive pit descending into endless darkness. Reporting success, Kay informs them the way is clear. Pleased, Red confirms his instincts were right and takes the lead, instructing the others to stay close behind him. As they move forward, an eerie silence suddenly fills the area. Sensing danger, Red activates the lights and immediately recognizes that something is wrong. The ground begins to tremble, causing Gale to question what is approaching. From the depths, a massive tail slices through the darkness, crashing into the ground with overwhelming force. The impact shatters the terrain, leaving the team stunned as they struggle to comprehend the creature's size. Admitting the situation has escalated quickly, Red confirms that the reports about the black beast were true. Frustrated, he curses the timing as the monster appears right before them. Drawing his weapon, he prepares himself, knowing he cannot hold back. From the shadows, a humanoid figure emerges, covered in deadly weapons, its presence alone paralyzing the rookies. Facing the overwhelming threat, they freeze in place, reacting instantly. Red orders them to retreat into the ruins, throwing a flashlight toward Kay and assigning him the search mission. Ignoring any protest, he forcefully sends them inside, deciding to face the monster alone at the entrance. Sliding down the steep tunnel, the trio tumbles deeper into the structure, landing hard at the bottom. Gale immediately complains about Red's reckless behavior. Activating the flashlight, Kay illuminates their surroundings, and the moment the light spreads, his eyes widen in disbelief. Before them lies an entire underground city, hidden beneath the ruins. Observing the ruins, the destroyed buildings appear completely otherworldly, their structure unlike anything familiar. Asking where they are, Ellie notes that nothing about this place feels natural, her instincts immediately on edge. Exploring further, Kay catches a strong scent of something ancient lingering in the air, a trace of time long forgotten. Commenting on the design, Gale finds the architecture strangely modern, despite its age, creating an unsettling contrast. Refocusing on their mission, Kay reminds them they need to locate the fragments as soon as possible. At that exact moment, Kay freezes as he hears a faint sound coming from inside his clothes. Without warning, the small black cat leaps out, startling everyone present. Shouting in disbelief, Gale demands to know how the creature even got there. Eyes wide, Ellie stares in shock at the sudden appearance of the animal. Breaking into a cold sweat, Kay realizes his secret is now exposed. Thinking quickly, he decides there is no point hiding Nero anymore in this situation. Accepting it, he concludes, it would be impossible to conceal the cat in a place like this. Seeing an opportunity, Kay decides to turn the situation in his favor. Gathering their attention, he asks them to listen carefully to his plan. Holding up Nero, he confidently claims he has a way to track the fragment. Skeptical, the others listen with clear doubt, unsure whether to believe him. Ignoring their hesitation, Kay prepares to prove Nero's usefulness. With a grin, he warns them they are about to be shocked. Without hesitation, Kay tosses the small cat into the air, surprising everyone spinning mid-air. Nero activates his power, his body glowing brightly as intense light burst forth, illuminating the surroundings completely. The display leaves Ellie and Gale speechless. Stunned, Gale admits he never imagined a pet could possess such an ability. Moments later, a glowing trail forms, guiding them forward, clearly marking the path ahead. Still in disbelief, Gale comments that what he is seeing defies all logic. Curious, he asks where Kay even found such a rare creature. Focusing on the task, Kay asks Nero if he has located the fragment, trusting fully in his companion's abilities. Detecting something nearby, Nero's eyes gleam as the energy signal becomes clear. The trail stretches forward, pointing directly toward a distant section of the ruins. Moving swiftly, the glowing path shoots between buildings at high speed. Understanding the signal, Kay declares that their objective is close. Complaining, Gale grumbles about how far they still need to travel. Mocking him, he jokes that anyone scared can stay behind. Ignoring the taunt, Kay moves forward decisively, saying he will take the lead. Following the luminous trail, the group passes through a vast, silent corridor. Looking around, Kay is amazed by the sheer scale of the place, wondering what purpose it once served. Suddenly, Nero changes direction, making a sharp turn toward a nearby wall. Recognizing the signal, Kay realizes they have found something important. Without warning, the ground shakes violently as a massive structure crashes down in front of them. Startled by the impact, Kay steps back as dust fills the air. From within the cloud, a towering silhouette emerges, revealing itself slowly, joking nervously. Gale remarks that instead of treasure, they have found trouble. Shouting in shock, he demands to know what that giant thing is supposed to be. Examining it closely, Kay notices it does not resemble a normal monster at all. As its visor lights up, the ancient machine activates, preparing for combat. Floating symbols appear in the air, as Ellie observes strange numerical codes forming. Analyzing the data, the machine scans Gale, projecting a green code linked to him. Confused, Gale wonders if the thing is somehow reading their colors. Moments later, the machine shifts its focus directly toward Kay. Displaying the result, the system outputs the ominous code Black 00, immediately identifying him as a threat. The machine activates its elimination protocol. Without warning, the robot fires a powerful blast straight at them, blocking the attack. Kay is pushed backward by the sheer force of the impact. Frustrated, he realizes the enemy did not hesitate to strike first. Outraged, Gale yells at the machine, unable to believe it attacks so suddenly. Charging forward, the robot raises its massive arm, preparing to crush them. Reacting instantly, Kay catches the incoming punch with his bare hands. Straining under the pressure, he admits the machine is far stronger than it appears. Charging energy within its core, the robot prepares another attack at close range. Jumping in, Ellie delivers a precise kick, enhanced with ice, striking the machine directly. Taking advantage, Gale follows up with a swift slash from the side. However, Ellie quickly realizes their attacks have done no visible damage. Understanding the issue, she notes that her ice is ineffective against a mechanical target. Warning the team, she tells them to aim for the exposed core instead. Holding his position, Gale struggles to block the relentless heavy blows. Meanwhile, Kay dodges, narrowly avoiding being crushed into the ground. Analyzing the fight, he realizes brute force alone will not be enough to win. As the robot twists its body to attack again, Kay understands he needs something stronger. Forming an idea, he channels the black energy around his fist. The power gathers densely around his hand as he prepares a decisive strike. Without hesitation, he rushes forward, aiming directly for the weak point. Sliding along the machine's arm, he closes the distance in an instant, driving his empowered fist into the core. He lands a direct hit. The impact shatters the protection as black energy corrodes the structure. Instantly, with its core destroyed, the machine powers down, collapsing lifelessly. Relieved, the group watches as the threat finally ends. Kicking the remains, Gale complains about how troublesome the fight was. Noticing something glowing, Kay steps forward and retrieves an unusual core fragment. Examining it closely, he realizes it is different from anything ordinary. Suspicious, Ellie immediately questions him about his black power. Caught off guard, Kay stumbles over his words, trying to avoid revealing the truth. Before the conversation continues, a massive door suddenly opens on its own. Startled, Gale questions who could have triggered it. Without hesitation, Nero rushes inside the dark passage ahead. Calling out, Kay quickly follows, not wanting to lose track of his guide. Pointing forward, he insists there must be something valuable deeper inside. Approaching the entrance, the group is stopped by a wall of liquid darkness blocking their path. Reaching out, Kay touches the surface and instantly feels the same energy as before. Before they can react, the vortex activates, pulling everything inward. Caught off guard, all three are dragged forward, unable to resist the force. Screaming, they are swallowed completely as the darkness consumes them, falling endlessly through the void. They have no control over where they will land. Trying to see anything, Gale complains about the absolute darkness surrounding them. Reaching out blindly, he calls to the others, asking if they are still there. Suddenly, panic sets in as he realizes his color has completely disappeared. Looking around, the trio notices the entire world has lost its vibrancy. Back at headquarters, the administration building is boiling over with problems. Tension rising as chaos spreads through every department. Slamming his hand against the table, the director erupts in anger over the situation. His patience completely gone. Turning to his assistant, he demands to know Red's whereabouts. His voice sharpened, filled with urgency, complaining about the madness. He emphasizes the danger of an S-rank mission, making it clear how reckless this is. Fearing the worst, he cannot believe Red chose to head into such an isolated and dangerous zone. Recalling past incidents, he points out that even monsters return injured from that place. Continuing his rant, he insists that Red cannot simply ignore the rules without consequences. Meanwhile, sipping her tea, a mysterious woman watches him with visible amusement. Drinking calmly, Captain Cavalia tells him not to panic and to keep himself under control. Defending Red's actions, she explains that bringing the boy along was a necessary gamble. Speaking with confidence, she warns that fear will only cloud their judgment. At a critical moment like this, making a slight face, she complains about the drink's bitter and unpleasant taste. Maintaining a rigid posture, the director argues that breaking rules always leads to serious problems. Citing rumors, he warns that influential figures are already paying close attention to this situation. Recalling the ancient terror, he speaks about the limits of the dreaded black contamination. Predicting disaster, he claims the protective barrier will not hold forever. With a subtle wink, the captain suggests that the boy with the black color might be the key to everything. Breaking into a cold sweat, the director trembles at the mere thought of a god-rank power. Determined to stay ahead, he picks up the rookie's file and begins examining it closely. Staring at the photo, he decides to monitor every single movement from now on. Meanwhile, back in the abyss, the three kids awaken in a lifeless and colorless world. Screaming in terror, Gale realizes all of his colors have vanished completely. Pointing in shock, he notices that Kay is the only one who still appears normal. Checking himself, Kay confirms that the black color remains intact within him. Understanding the difference, he realizes the darkness does not affect him the same way it does the others. Trying to act, Gale forces his energy to create a guiding light. Failing instantly, the green glow is suffocated by the heavy and oppressive atmosphere. From above, eerie whispers begin to descend, surrounding the trio from all sides. Their eyes widening, they struggle to identify where the voices are coming from. Hearing faint laments, Ellie shivers as she recognizes a painfully familiar tone. Focusing his vision, Kay realizes that the place is projecting nightmares directly into their minds. From the mist, a female silhouette slowly emerges and walks toward Ellie. Sensing danger instantly, Kay detects a murderous intent coming from that shadow. Suddenly, a vortex of chaotic energy tears open the sky, spinning violently above them. From the abyss, a monstrous silhouette rises, dominating the entire horizon. Distorted creatures begin to crawl out from the surrounding darkness. Within the void, countless evil eyes gleam with pure malice. Fragments of the past flash before him, as a familiar blue portal forms in his mind. Seeing through the illusion, Kay realizes the place is projecting real memories to break them. Mocking voices from the past begin to curse him relentlessly. Without pause, resisting the pressure, Kay feels his own aura reacting violently to the environment. Calling her name, he desperately tries to break her out of the trance. Feeling the invasion grow stronger, he fights to expel the voices from his mind. Roaring in anger, Kay demands the illusion to stop immediately. Glancing to the side, he sees that Gale has also fallen into the nightmare. Being strangled, the swordsman relives a traumatic moment from his past. Realizing the urgency, Kay understands that both of his friends are trapped. Suddenly, Nero appears, shining like a beacon of light within the darkness. Relieved, Kay silently thanks his savior for returning at the perfect moment. Glowing brightly, Nero lets out a powerful meow that pushes back the surrounding shadows. A trail of light forms as the small cat begins guiding them forward. Reaching his allies, the sacred glow breaks the nightmare's hold completely. Taking the lead, Nero moves confidently as if he knows exactly where to go. Bursting with radiant energy, his aura begins cleansing the corrupted environment. Slowly regaining their senses, Ellie and Gale struggle to understand how they were freed. Drawing their attention, Kay points toward the light and urges them to follow it. Climbing along the walls, the glowing path reveals a safe route ahead. Sensing hope, Kay feels that the exit is finally within reach. trying to interfere. The shadows whisper cruel insults in an attempt to break his focus, mocking him. They claim that someone without color will never have any worth. Ignoring every word, K fixes his gaze on the distant guiding light. Step by step, he advances forward with unwavering determination. His eyes widening, he finally sees what lies hidden ahead. Recognizing it instantly, K realizes he has found the legendary Stella fragment. Mesmerized by its glow, he sees it as the only pure light within that hell. Reaching forward, he decides to grab it and end the nightmare once and for all. The moment he touches it, a burst of color explodes outward, illuminating everything. The fragment shines intensely. Reacting to his presence, feeling a strange vibration, K senses that this absorption is completely different. Unlike before, the energy feels alive and responsive to him. Pulsing with power, the light spreads outward across the space. The surrounding darkness recoils as the black mist begins to retreat. Unable to withstand the radiance, the abyss starts collapsing in on itself. In an instant, the illusion shatters, returning them back to reality. Taking a deep breath, K declares that the nightmare is finally over. Shocked, Ellie and Gale see him holding the glowing fragment in his hand, showing it proudly. K reassures them that it is harmless and beautiful. Calmly, he insists he felt no pain at all while holding it. Without warning, Nero suddenly lunges forward and swallows the entire fragment in a single gulp.